even as it was struggling to preserve certain immutable values. Much of the history we will be examining here is made up of overlapping cycles of collapse and reconsolidation, of revolution and evolution, of conquest and movements for progress. Third, this remains a book about an ongoing search, rather than about the conclusions of a search. I understand a modern nation to be one that is both integrated and receptive, fairly sure of its own identity, yet able to join others on equal terms in the quest for new markets, new technologies, new ideas. If it is used in this open sense, we should have no difficulty in seeing modern as a concept that shifts with the times as human life unfolds, instead of simply relegating the sense of modern to our own contemporary world, while consigning the past to the traditional and the future to the postmodern. I like to think that there were modern countries, in the above sense, in AD 1600 or earlier, as at any moment in the centuries thereafter. Yet, at no time in that span, nor at the end of the 20th century, has China been convincingly one of them. Fourth, I hope that the focus on the search for modern China as an ongoing act will make it clear how much China's history illuminates its present. China's communist government can claim, with validity, revolutionary credentials. But it is also a giant bureaucracy whose leaders insist on their right, in the name of a higher truth, to define people's aspirations in virtually all spheres of life. So it was in the late Ming and early Qing states of the 17th century. In relating to the outside world, China can also rightfully claim it is charting its own course. But in attempting to adapt certain aspects of advanced foreign technologies to solve its own pressing needs, while preserving its people from corrupting influences, it is re-exploring ground surveyed with care in the 19th century. Governing 1 billion citizens inside a single political entity is also something no state has attempted before. But it was in the 18th century that China's population pressures first became acute, and the effects of these growing numbers on the land, the economy, and the administration of civil society can be observed in detail from that time on. The presence of the past can also be seen in many other areas. The customs and practices that ensured the low social and economic status of women, the educational methods that were used to instill in children certain patterns of generational deference and concepts of obligation, the power of the family as an organizational unit, the ability of certain people within local communities to gain and preserve an abusive level of control. All of these aspects of Chinese society and culture can be seen in various forms from 1600 onward. So can the aesthetic aspirations and linguistic innovations in art and literature, the probing scrutiny of administrative structures and procedures, all of which have brought deep changes to China and have endured to the present time. By starting our story at the end of the 16th century, too, we can achieve one other goal. We can see how often the Chinese people, operating in difficult or even desperate circumstances, seized their own fate and threw themselves against the power of the state. We can see how in 1644, again in 1911, and yet again in 1949, disillusion with the present and a certain nostalgia for the past could combine with a passionate hope for the future to bring the old order crashing down, opening the way for an uncertain passage to the new. And armed with knowledge of those earlier struggles, we can gain a sharper understanding of the forces now confronting each other inside China, and of the chances for or against the troubled nation at last claiming its place in a modern world. Acknowledgements. In the years that were spent writing The Search for Modern China, I have incurred countless debts of gratitude. My deepest is to my Norton editor, Stephen Foreman.